On Christmas, one of the things that we celebrate is God chose to enter human history. God chose to enter our history. And today we celebrate the feast of the Holy Family, that not only did God choose to enter human history, he chose to enter a human family. And I want to reflect a little bit about what type of family Jesus chose to enter, because he's God. And so he could arrange the circumstances in whatever way he desired, in such that he could enter any type of family, any situation that he would have wanted. So it's particularly important for us to see what type of family God chose to enter. And then to ask, does that have any relevance, any impact in our own lives? So Jesus chose to enter a poor family. He could have chosen to enter a wealthy family with many servants, a place where he would be constantly pampered and have a life full of comfort. But he chose to enter a poor family. And how do we know that? When Mary presents Jesus in the temple, her offering is a pair of turtle doves or 2 young pigeons. That's the offering of the poor. Jesus entered a poor family. And he could have chosen to be born in an important place like Rome or Greece, but he chose to be born in Israel, in Bethlehem, a town of perhaps no more than 1,000 people. And he wasn't born in a hospital or some place that had a lot of medical attention or riches at his disposal. He was born in a manger, a food trough for animals, because there wasn't even room for him in the inn. He entered a family that did manual labor, a tradesman. His foster father Joseph was in the trades. He wasn't averse to working with his hands. He entered a family that experienced loss. It's not certain, but it's almost certain that Joseph died before the crucifixion happened. How do we know this? 1, he's not mentioned, and 2, it would have been almost unthinkable for Jesus to entrust Mary to the beloved disciple, to John, if Joseph was still living. And so Mary and Jesus experienced a loss, and this is in a time and a culture where there weren't a lot of economic opportunities for women. He was a refugee family. We heard about it in the gospel. And it wasn't because they were seeking better economic opportunities. It was because someone who was powerful, someone who was a king, someone who was in a place of authority, wanted to kill him. Actually, the word that we use is a strong word: destroy the child. Have you ever wanted to destroy a child? Have you ever wanted to destroy a baby? Herod was so intent on destroying Jesus that he had all male children 2 years old and younger killed, perhaps 20 or 30 children. And he was born in a family that was part of a people, the Israelites. And we know that this people was profoundly imperfect. Like, if there's one thing that the Bible wants to constantly tell us about the Israelites, is that they were imperfect. They were profoundly unfaithful to God again and again and again and again. And the Bible's message to us is that even though they were so unfaithful, God remained faithful to them. He could have chosen to enter a family that was part of a perfect people, but he didn't. And then he likely did things that were so ordinary, like for a long time. He entered a family that did lots of ordinary things. And so how does this, knowing about Jesus' family, knowing about the choice that he made, what value is that to us? What value is it that we know what Jesus' family was like? I think at minimum, one of the values is this: it gives you and me hope. It gives you and me hope. Because if God would have chosen to enter a family that was wealthy, that was powerful, that was born in a place that was influential, that never experienced personal loss, that was part of a perfect people, and that did always extraordinary things, you and I would say, oh, well, that's not my life. He's not relating to me and my family. But because he chose to enter this way, you and I can say, wait a second, I have hope. You know, I am becoming reluctant to tell people where I'm from. I'm from Burnsville. And what I'm discovering is that Burnsville is a big letdown. Like, people will ask me, like, Father, where are you from? And there's like a lot of anticipation and excitement about asking where a priest is from, because you want to connect with them and stuff. And so they're like, Father, where are you from? I'm from Burnsville. Oh. Guess, I mean, if you have to be from a place, you know. It's so ordinary. We don't have like anything to our name. All we have is one mall, the Burnsville Mall. It's a town of 60,000 people, the most bland, ordinary suburb, pre-planned, nothing distinctive about it. I mean, have you ever felt like that? Like you're not from an important place? Forest Lake's important, so every other place other than Forest Lake, where you're just like, I'm not from a place of much importance. How could God care about me? I'm just from. Or are you poor? Have you ever experienced poverty? Maybe you don't quite know if you're going to make your bills on time, or if each week all the ends meet. And like if you were to come to church, all you could offer God was a pair of turtle doves or pigeons. How could God possibly care about me? Jesus, in fact, was so poor that when he died, he actually was buried in someone else's cave. He was so poor that he actually didn't have any clothes. It would be too shocking for us. It would be too shocking for us at St. Peter's to see this. But Jesus on the cross was naked. But it would be too shocking for us to see Jesus naked on the cross each time he came into St. Peter's. So we clothe him. But he was completely stripped. He had nothing. Have you ever felt stripped? Have you ever felt like you have nothing? Or maybe you do a type of work that the world doesn't think is important. And you're like, how could God care about me? I'm just a janitor. I'm just a typist. I'm just an administrator. My own managers don't even notice me. How could God care about me? I just work in the trades. I just work with my hands. How could God care about me? Except Jesus was a tradesman. You see, God chose the lowest place. God chose the lowest place so that he could raise us up. In fact, you can't go lower. God chose the lowest place. You can't go lower than God. And that gives you and me hope. Jesus chose to enter a poor family. He chose to enter a family that worked with their hands. He chose to enter a family that experienced personal loss. He chose a refugee family, a family part of an imperfect people, a family that did ordinary things. So he could enter into your family. Jesus wants to enter your family and give you hope and show you a path forward. Because that's what our families are like.